Hello everybody, today's February 27th, 2012. Today I wanted to cover a couple things. I wanted to show you what's happening with the silver, about to break out two key resistance lines. I'm not an expert technical analyst, but I've been playing around technical analysis for probably 13 years, and I wanted to show you this flag formation and a long-term resistance line. It's about to break through both of them, so pretty interesting on the chart. I also want to talk about central banks printing money, central banks all around the world, and why it's important for subscribers around the world to have real money. You know, I probably get about 20% of my views from outside the United States, and I don't always take that into consideration. I apologize to those people, because I want this to be as beneficial as possible to people around the world, because this is a worldwide event that I'm talking about here in these videos. We're not back in the late 70s where it was mainly a US event that was pushing gold and silver up. I mean, this time we have central banks around the world printing money. There's an article I put on Moneybags World, and we'll come back to that in just a minute. Where's it at here? I put this article up, central banks around the world printing money like crazy. It's got, if you click here, it'll take you over to an article that shows you 8 graphs. It's got the 8 largest central banks, and if you look at them, you can probably see what's going on here. They're all heading up to the right. They're all depreciating their paper, monopoly money. I mean, this is a worldwide event, and you know, people around the world, the best way to prepare for what's coming, I'm sure you noticed the inflation that's finally showing up. You know, our central bank tripled their balance sheet, the Federal Reserve, and the banks were holding that money, getting interest from the Federal Reserve, so they weren't loaning it out. They're just letting it sit there, making money off the interest. Now, if they can loan that out, you know, up to 30 trillion. I mean, right now I think there's around 10, 11 trillion in the money supply. But that can, if they start loaning out that money that the banks were given under QE1 and QE2, they could, you know, increase the money supply exponentially. Not exponentially, but they can increase the money supply way up to 30 trillion. Now, if you look at the Fed's balance sheet, I've shown this a bunch of times. Here's the Federal Reserve balance sheet. You know, it's flat on a real slight slope up until the crisis in '08, and then it just went parabolic. But that right there, I said before, was inflation. This is actually preheating the oven. The inflation is when that money gets loaned out by the banks, 10 times the amount that they have by fractional reserve banking. The banks can create money out of thin air just as well as the Federal Reserve can. So it all gets leveraged up, and you know, it doesn't allow us to buy as much with our paper dollars because there's so many more floating around. So we could see a huge year for the metals. So I already made my predictions. But anyway, one other thing I wanted to touch on. So if you want to look at those graphs, it's really interesting. Another side, you know, these are the assets, and what they use to buy these bonds and securities and stuff is money out of thin air. They didn't have the money to buy that stuff. They just create it out of thin air, and they expand their balance sheet. They create all these assets. So that's showing you the amount of assets they have. Well, you know, they just put the digits into the computer, and voila, there it's at. There it is. Central banks around the world are printing money, and wherever you are in the world, you need to have real money, proven for thousands of years to be the best form of money. I mean, I can't get, it doesn't get any more common sense, plain and simple than this here. I mean, look what's happening. Look what's happening here. That's the Bank of France. Central Bank in France. I mean, they're just all printing money. So anyway, let me run over here to this other. This is really cool here. This is the live chart here. We're at, I guess you can't see that, but right here we're at $35.54 an ounce. And this is a flag pattern. Here's the post here, and then the flag right there. If you break out of this point here and can hold above, say 37, 38 for a little while, good chance you're going to start to shoot on up. When you break out of these resistance lines, same on the bottom side. When you break below these, I've seen on the currency trading, I've seen this chart here. I used a little bit playing around with currency trading. They break below this bear trend line here and just start falling. I could show you another one. Well, I won't do that right now, but anyhow, this other line here I wanted to show you, it goes way back to 2006 as a resistance line, and I can't get this chart here to go back to 2006. So I'll bring it up. I have it over here. Someone else had done similar drawings here, but there's that resistance line they're showing you there. So we're right here at 35.50, and we're about to break through that resistance and that resistance line. We're right at a key point, and this goes way back. This is 08 and this is 06. This trend line, you saw what happened when we broke through it before. It just, it shot up from 30 to 50. So anyway, it could be a huge reward for people that have been holding real money. With the inflation starting to show up from the tripling of the balance sheet. So anyway, I wanted to show you those couple things. I'll put a link to Moneybags World. You can check out those 8 charts. Really interesting to anyone who's interested in looking at money printing around the world. So until next time, I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.